She didn't have a weapon. She wasn't being violent in any way.
Ashley Babbitt, one of the people who died during the security breach at our nation's capital, but the only one shot and killed by police. She was an Air Force vet and a vocal supporter of President Trump on social media.
Well, turning now to the continuing fallout surrounding yesterday's breach, as Nathaniel Mata reports, attention shifting to what some say is a different standard or of treatment for different people.
Nathaniel Mata lives in Mission and runs a nonprofit. Last year, after the death of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police, the 25-year-old found himself staying in more.
I mean, I didn't go out during most of these Black Lives Matter marches just for like safety, especially when it started to get a little hectic with people boarding up windows and saying like, we got to shoot them.
Still remembers the sound of the man in McAllen wielding a chainsaw and using racial slurs while confronting protesters on a downtown sidewalk. Mata says when the riot began at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. yesterday, he was drawn to his television. When you were watching everything, how did you feel?
I guess it says a lot about maybe not so much white lives, but like Black lives and the disposability of them. And that's just really painful.
Yesterday's riot and how the protesters were able to get into the Capitol at all raised questions about security, but also drawing comparisons with other recent protests. For example, many, including President-elect Joe Biden, are going on record as saying that Black Lives Matter protesters would have been treated much differently. And one image from yesterday, video that appeared to show a Capitol Hill police officer taking a selfie with a rioter, resonating with Dr. Gordon Cruz, the chair of the Department of Criminal Justice at STC.
They're basically helping the elderly down the stairs yesterday to leave, the trespassing inside the Capitol. And during the Black Lives Matter protest, those same individuals that were, elderly were actually getting shoved in the chest and knocked on the ground.
Dr. Cruz says yesterday was the culmination of several factors, one of which he says could have to do with race. But he says another factor could be that law enforcement wasn't immediately called.
The D.C. police cannot just go on federal lands, federal grounds, all right? National Guard cannot just go on those lands unless they are asked and approved to go on.
Two of our local congressmen specifically criticizing the response from President Trump. Congressman Philemon Vela releasing a statement that said in part, the president had no interest in using the power of the presidency to mobilize federal law enforcement to protect the Capitol and its inhabitants. Congressman Henry Cuellar saying this.
The National Guard was called much later than Virginia, and then I think the D.C. came in. I kept saying that, Trump sure called the Guard fast on the people on the progressive groups.
The president taking to Twitter to release a video where he said he responded right away.
I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. America is and must always be a nation of law and order.
As for Mata, he says the response left him disappointed.
I don't want to wish harm on these people. I just wish there was more equity in policing and more equity in the justice system.
Tanvi Verma, Channel 5 News at 10.